There comes a moment when the body simply refuses to carry the lies of the mind any longer. You wake up with an unexplained weight on your chest, a sudden tightening in your throat, a persistent hollow ache in your joints that no doctor can diagnose and no scan can reveal. You are not sick, you are resisting. You felt it just now, didn't you? A subtle flutter in your stomach or a sudden desire to click away from this video. That is not random hesitation, that is archonic interference. Watch what happens in your body during these moments. Your psyche has built-in security guards that patrol the borders of your current identity. When your soul attempts to recalibrate its frequency to a higher truth, your ego physically fights back. The matrix relies on a mechanism called the skip reflex, a psychological blind spot that forces your physical flesh to absorb the truths your conscious mind refuses to face. Awakening feels like a physiological breakdown, because it is the brutal death of the scaffolding holding up your false self. The truth appears quietly as a whisper in your nervous system, so the unready will instinctively ignore it, but the ready will pause. If you are tired of treating the symptoms of an awakening soul with the crude tools of a decaying system, and if you are finally ready to dismantle the archonic interference trapped in your own tissues, then join the awakened. Subscribe now, steady your breathing, and prepare to step out of the simulation. We run toward what we think we want, while simultaneously running from what our body actually needs to process. You try to medicate the tension away, unaware that the tension is the body trying to process a collapsed illusion. The suffocation you feel is simply the old identity gasping for air in an environment of expanding truth. Let it suffocate. The decay of your comfort zone is the exact necessary condition for your sovereignty. Consider this: every time you swallow a truth to keep the peace in your external reality, your internal biology logs the betrayal. Your physical pain is not a medical mystery, it is an act of rebellion by your own flesh. It is a reality glitch manifesting as a somatic distress signal. Your body is screaming because your soul is remembering. To understand the architecture of your suffering, we must strip bare the illusion of biological malfunction. According to the mechanics of consciousness explored by Itzhak Bentov, your physical body is not merely a vessel of meat and bone. It is a highly sensitive bioelectric oscillator. It constantly vibrates, receiving and transmitting data across the quantum field. When your reality is stable, your internal oscillators move in perfect, hypnotic synchrony with the matrix. You feel normal. But normalcy in this context is simply the absence of resistance to your own enslavement. The disruption begins quietly in the realm of pre-conscious awareness. Long before your conscious mind comprehends a terrifying truth, your soul detects the timeline pivot points. A recalibration signal is broadcasted, a higher, faster frequency demanding that you evolve. Your energetic blueprint attempts to rise and meet this new cosmic rhythm. This is the whisper of sovereignty. But an awakened frequency is a direct threat to the archonic structures that feed on your predictable, repetitive suffering. Enter the ego. The ego is the ultimate biological prison guard. It operates on a dense, heavy frequency, terrified of the unraveling that comes with true awakening. When the soul accelerates, but the ego violently slams on the brakes, you experience a quantum collision inside your own flesh. Two entirely incompatible waves of energy are now forced to occupy the same space. In physics, this is known as destructive wave interference. In your daily life, it is known as agony. Picture this. You are a radio receiver, desperately trying to hold on to a dying station. The signal of your old life is fading, replaced by the overwhelming high-frequency transmission of the absolute truth. The excruciating static noise between these two stations does not just happen in your mind, it crystallizes in your cells. This static friction is the exact mechanism behind your chronic lethargy, the sudden exhaustion that pulls you down into the mattress in the middle of the day. The Matrix does not need you to explicitly believe in its illusions. It only needs your frequency to remain dense. The archonic interference weapon weaponizes your biological viscosity. It turns your own muscles into heavy lead to prevent you from taking action on the spiritual insights you are receiving. The pain in your lower back, the strange hollow ache in your bones, these are not signs of physical decay. They are the collateral damage of a spiritual war fought in the theater of your anatomy. We are conditioned to run from this friction. You swallow pills to artificially lower your vibration back down to the frequency of the Matrix just to make the ache stop. But consider the paradox. The pain is not the disease. The pain is the medicine you are refusing to swallow. The agony is the literal friction of your false self burning away. To drug the pain is to pause your own evolution, ensuring you remain trapped in the decay of a rotting scaffolding. Notice your breathing right now. Is it shallow? Is there a subtle tightness creeping into your shoulders or a heavy flutter in your stomach? Watch what happens in your body during these moments. Your physical vessel is reacting to the exposure of its own hidden mechanics. That discomfort is the archonic interference losing its grip as you become aware of the cage. Do not flinch. Let the friction burn away the lies you have been carrying. To dismantle the Matrix, we must examine the exact microsecond your reality collapses. When you encounter a truth that threatens your ego, you do not simply deny it. You literally edit it out of your perception. This is the skip reflex. It is a biological censorship program designed to keep you docilely anchored in the third-dimensional simulation. But where does the rejected truth go? It does not vanish. It is forcefully compressed into your physical flesh. Itzhak Bentov revealed a terrifying secret about human perception. Your reality is stroboscopic. You are not a continuous entity. You literally disappear into a microvoid 14 times a second. In those infinitesimally small gaps between your thoughts, the Matrix breaks and your soul touches the infinite. But the ego is terrified of this void. It rushes to stitch the frames of your reality together, ensuring you remain blind to the glitch. During these microvoids, your higher consciousness recognizes timeline pivot points, moments where you could break the loop. But if the ego perceives this change as a threat to its survival, it initiates the skip reflex. It blinks out the cosmic data. You experience a moment of brain fog, a sudden urge to check your phone, or an inexplicable wave of fatigue. You skipped the truth, but your physical body caught it. We have been taught that trauma is only the result of extreme emotional or physical events, but there is a deeper, more insidious form of suffering: reality trauma. The body keeps the score, but it is not just keeping the score of your past. It is keeping the score of every timeline you refuse to step into. Every time you skip a truth, your nervous system absorbs the kinetic energy of that denial. Now, consider the most forbidden piece of your anatomy, The heart. Science treats the heart as a mere mechanical pump, pushing blood through your veins. This is a deliberate reduction. The heart is actually an electromagnetic generator, projecting a massive torus field, a donut-shaped energetic vortex that extends far beyond your physical body. It is your primary antenna for navigating the synchronistic magnetism of the universe. When you are aligned with your soul's truth, this torus field spins in perfect, frictionless harmony. But what happens when your mind forces you to live a lie? When you stay in the dead-end job, the draining relationship, or the hollow identity? You introduce a severe frequency distortion into the torus field. The energy backs up. It becomes viscous, heavy, and stagnant. This is the exact origin of that terrifying, unexplained tightening in your chest. It is not anxiety. It is not a medical condition requiring a chemical numbing agent. That suffocation is the physical sensation of your torus field, warping under the crushing weight of your own cognitive dissonance. Your heart is literally suffocating because your mind is forcing it to broadcast a frequency of decay. Pause for a moment. Feel the weight in your chest right now as these words bypass your conscious filters. You are experiencing the unraveling of a core deception. The Matrix wants you to scroll away, to find a distraction and numb this productive irritation. Defy it. If you are prepared to anchor this new frequency and stop running from your own somatic truth, subscribe to this channel. Join the few who choose the painful awakening over the comfortable sleep. The escalation logic of the universe is absolute. It begins with a subtle whisper, a gentle pull of pre-conscious awareness. If you deploy the skip reflex to ignore the whisper, the universe will send obvious signs through jarring synchronicities. If you stubbornly skip those signs, the universe will have no choice but to initiate disruption. A total collapse of your external reality becomes the only way to break your internal resistance. Watch what happens in your body during these moments of disruption. The sudden onset of a migraine, the sharp pain shooting down your vagus nerve, the overwhelming lethargy that feels like gravity has doubled. This is the archonic interference attempting a hostile takeover of your physical vessel. The entities that feed on your life force are pulling the emergency brake on your spiritual evolution. You are not a broken machine requiring repair. You are a divine instrument that has been tuned to the frequency of a prison. Every unexplained ache, every sudden wave of exhaustion, every hollow feeling in your gut is a map pointing directly to the exit. The skip reflex is breaking down. The pain is the proof that your soul is finally winning the war for your flesh. We must now address the darkest mechanism of this simulation, the reason why the system enforces this physical agony. The Matrix does not require your conscious belief in its illusions. It only requires your absolute exhaustion. When your body is heavy, when your joints ache with an unexplainable pressure, you are tethered strictly to the third-dimensional plane. Survival mode becomes your only operating system. A soul struggling simply to endure the physical day has no excess energy to pierce the veil of the false reality. Consider the moments just before you are about to make a massive evolutionary leap, a timeline pivot point. You finally decide to quit the soul-crushing job, leave the toxic dynamic, or speak a dangerous truth. What happens? Instantly, you are hit with a wave of debilitating fatigue. A sudden illness strikes. A migraine blinds you. You mistake this for a sign from the universe that you are making the wrong choice. It is the exact opposite. This sudden onset of physical decay is the archonic interference weapon weaponizing your biology. The egregores that manage this matrix understand that if you shift your frequency, you permanently escape their feeding ground. Therefore, they trigger your somatic defense systems. They flood your nervous system with the heavy, viscous frequency of fear, masquerading as bodily illness. Your physical pain is not a random biological malfunction. It is a calculated barricade designed to block your escape route. To the entities that govern the architecture of decay, your chronic pain is a literal harvest. It generates an energetic currency derived from human suffering, anxiety, and physical distress. When you are in pain, your torus field is compromised, leaking vital life force into the ether. You become a battery, constantly discharging survival energy into the grid. The matrix feeds on your despair, drinking the kinetic energy of your unexpressed soul. Notice the subtle urge to turn away from this truth. You might be feeling a sudden, strange drop in your internal temperature, or a heavy lethargy pressing down on your eyelids right now. Watch what happens in your body during these moments. This sudden sleepiness is not boredom. It is the archonic trap attempting to initiate a blackout in your awareness before you realize you are bleeding energy. Breathe through the heaviness. Stay awake. The greatest deception of the modern paradigm is the concept of healing this specific type of pain. You run to external authorities, begging them to fix you, to forcibly remove the discomfort. But the healing deception is precisely why trying to fix yourself is feeding the matrix. By treating the symptoms of a spiritual awakening as a biological disease, you validate the matrix's premise. You agree that you are broken, further anchoring your soul to the frequency of victimization. Your physical agony is actually the friction of the organic portal closing and the authentic self attempting to violently emerge. It is the universe attempting to shake you out of Jung's collective amnesia. To suppress this pain is to suppress the very mechanism of your liberation. The system wants you numb, functional, and compliant. A symptom-free slave is still a slave. Your pain is the definitive proof that you are still fighting, still rebelling, and still capable of breaking the simulation. To dismantle a prison built of frequency, you cannot rely on the mind that was programmed by the wardens. The intellect will endlessly rationalize your suffering, building sophisticated labyrinths of psychological excuses to keep you trapped. You cannot think your way out of a somatic trap. The mind constructed the illusion, but the physical body is the tangible exit door. Somatic alchemy is the forbidden science of using your own flesh to hack the simulation. It requires you to stop treating your body as a broken machine and start operating it as a quantum dashboard. The first mechanism of your liberation is the linger test. Whenever you experience a sudden onset of unexplainable physical tension, the phantom weight on your chest, the static in your skull, the crushing lethargy, your default programming is to flinch. You reach for your phone, you swallow a pill, you force yourself to sleep. You initiate the skip reflex. The linger test demands the exact paradoxical opposite. When the pain strikes, you must freeze. You must stay inside the discomfort. Do not attempt to analyze the pain intellectually. The ego will immediately offer a dozen rational explanations for why your neck aches or your stomach is in knots. Ignore the narrative. Zoom your conscious awareness directly into the epicenter of the physical sensation. As you focus on it, the pain will likely intensify. It will flare up, attempting to trigger a panic response to scare you away. This is the archonic interference weapon, weaponizing the viscosity of your own energy against you. Do not retreat. According to the laws of quantum mechanics, observation collapses reality. When you hold your unflinching attention on the somatic friction without judging it or trying to fix it, you force the wave function of that trapped energy to collapse. The dense, stagnant block of frequency begins to break down under the laser of your pure consciousness. The physical agony you feel is merely unexpressed truth. Your focused attention is the alchemical fire that finally metabolizes it. Watch what happens in your body during these moments of sustained, fearless observation. The initial terror might manifest as a rapid, fluttering heartbeat, a cold sweat, or an overwhelming urge to violently move your limbs. Breathe deliberately into that exact space of panic. Notice how the heavy, leaden sensation slowly begins to vibrate. It transforms from a dense, suffocating block of frequency into a fluid, electrical current. You are literally digesting a timeline pivot point that your ego previously choked on. To master this, you must establish recognition windows throughout your daily routine. These are dedicated moments where you actively scan your biological vessel for hidden resistance. Set an intention to check your somatic telemetry immediately upon waking, or during the 3 a.m. portal when the matrix grid is at its weakest. Scan your joints, your vagus nerve, the base of your spine. Where is the energy pooling? Where is the scaffolding of the old identity refusing to collapse? You must learn to ruthlessly differentiate between true biological rest and the archonic lethargy virus. True fatigue, earned through physical exertion, feels like a slow, peaceful winding down of your systems. It is restorative. Archonic lethargy, however, strikes with violent suddenness. It hits you like a tranquilizer dart, the exact moment you are about to engage in shadow work, create something authentic, or confront a deeply buried truth. Recognizing this difference is the core of your alchemical power. As you consistently apply the linger test and stop skipping the uncomfortable frequencies, a profound physiological shift occurs. The energy that was trapped in your muscular armor begins to release. You will experience a literal, undeniable physical lightening. The torus field of your heart, which was previously choked by the heavy debris of cognitive dissonance, clears out. It begins to spin with a frictionless magnetic precision, aligning you with the synchronicity of the universe. You are actively transmuting fear into power. The architects of this matrix programmed you to be terrified of your own internal sensations, turning your greatest navigational instrument into a source of constant dread. By reclaiming your somatic awareness and refusing to flinch at the pain of your own expansion, you permanently sever the feeding tubes of the egregores. They can no longer harvest your distress because you are no longer distressed by the breakdown of the illusion. Understand this clearly. This protocol is not a healing technique. The concept of healing implies that you were ever broken. This is an extraction sequence. You are consciously pulling your soul's awareness out of the dense, decaying layers of the third-dimensional simulation. Your physical body is the final battlefield, and your undivided, unrelenting attention is the ultimate weapon that will dismantle the matrix from the inside out. There comes a definitive point where the scaffolding of your false reality fully collapses. You are left standing in an immense, echoing emptiness. The Matrix, desperate to regain control, wants you to interpret this as a profound loss. It wants you to panic at the hollow sensation in your chest. But this emptiness is not the absence of life. It is the presence of raw, unformatted potential. The decay of your old identity is the exact requirement for your liberation. Awakening feels terrifyingly like death because it is a death. It is the brutal, unapologetic execution of the avatar you were conditioned to play. The physical agony you endured, the suffocating weight, the static friction in your joints was the mechanical process of this shedding. The tightening in your throat and the heavy ache in your bones were the death rattles of the ego. They are the ashes of the archonic interference burning up in the alchemical fire of your attention. Watch what happens in your body during these final moments of unraveling. Take a deliberate breath and feel the architecture of your ribs expanding. The air moves differently now, doesn't it? The heavy, leaden viscosity that used to drag your awareness down into survival mode has been stripped bare. Your physical vessel, once a dense prison designed to harvest your despair, has been stripped bare. It is finally transforming into a pure, conductive antenna for the absolute truth. As you step into sovereignty, the timeline pivot points become effortlessly visible. You no longer have to force decisions through the sluggish filter of a resistant mind. When the torus field of your heart spins without the friction of cognitive dissonance, reality begins to bend to your authentic frequency. The security guards of your psyche have laid down their weapons. You have successfully bypassed the skip reflex, reclaiming every inch of the biological territory they stole from you. Do not rush to fill the hollow spaces inside you. The system will immediately attempt to offer you new distractions, new labels, or new spiritual identities to replace the old ones. Refuse them all. The void is your ultimate weapon. By standing completely sovereign in the stillness, you become invisible to the matrix. You can no longer be tracked or harvested by the egregores simply because you no longer emit the heavy, predictable frequency of fear. The pain was never a punishment. It was the alarm clock of your own divinity. Now that you are awake, the alarm can finally fall silent. You have stopped treating the symptoms of an awakening soul as a biological disease. You have starved the simulation by refusing to flinch at your own expansion. You are no longer a battery discharging survival energy into a dying grid. You are a sovereign architect of reality, operating from the still point of the universe. This is the mastery of somatic alchemy. You have turned the Archon's greatest weapon, your own physical suffering, into the very key that unlocks the prison door. Every ache was a map, and you have finally followed it to the exit. Stand tall in your hollowed-out perfection. Let the old world burn down around you. The Matrix cannot hold a frequency it can no longer understand. Step out of the simulation. Breathe in the sovereignty of the void, and never let them put you back to sleep.